Fuad here back on Behind the Gloves with another interview. I'm joined by world famous promoter and podcast leader, and also now the No Context Hearn. How are you finding your new audience on Twitter?
Well, some guy walked past me earlier and went, "You're that guy out of No Context Hearn." I'm like, no, I am that guy. That's me. So it's weird because a lot of people that are retweeting all those memes don't even know who I am. So at the moment, seems to be up in my popularity. It won't last, but the guy actually reached out to me and said, "Like, do you mind me doing this?" I said, "No, mate, crack on."
Another way to sell the fights as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. Yeah.
We've just seen Billy Joe Saunders do his workout ahead of his fight on November the 9th on the KSI Logan Paul card. First of all, I want to ask you, he's back with Dominic Ingle now. What do you make of him moving back to trainers? Sometimes a lot of people say that moving back and forth between trainers can show, a sign of weak mentality. What do you think of the move?
I think that I don't get too much involved with the training side of things with fighters. He's obviously got his reasons for doing that. I know that Ben Davison was obviously out with Tyson Fury dealing with that fight, so he was up with Dom. They've worked well together in the past. In fact, I feel like his best performance was against David Lemieux, which Dom was in the corner for. So I'm sure they'll work well ahead of November 9th.
And obviously we're still waiting on an opponent for him. Is there any sort of idea? Have you got a short list?
We've put a couple of requests into the WBO to see if they'll approve sanction for those events. I want an American. Obviously it makes sense. If you look at the WBO rankings, it is a bit thin, so there's a couple of guys that we've requested if the WBO will accept, who are in other rankings with other governing bodies, and we'll make an announcement probably tomorrow.
Is Rosado a front runner?
No, it's not. It's not going to be Rosado.
Okay. And obviously everyone's talking now that he's with you, and you've pretty much got sort of with DAZN, you've got Canelo, then you've got Gennady Golovkin, you're working alongside Demetrius Andrade. When can we see those fights happen?
2020, unquestionably. Now I can make Callum Smith fight, Demetrius Andrade fight, Danny Jacobs fight now. But we also want Canelo, Triple G, they're the fights that Billy Joe Saunders are going to be in next year. So he's going to be in huge fights next year. We just got to make sure he gets the win on November 9th. Don't overlook that. And then move forward to, like I said, a career-defining year.
How realistic is the Canelo and Golovkin? Because they're the hardest fights to make.
I think he may get the Canelo fight on Cinco de Mayo. I think he's going to be in a good spot for that. We'll see how he performs on November the 9th and see what happens.
And staying inside the Ingle camp, Kell Brook obviously back with Dominic Ingle. What's going on with Kell?
I saw him today at Sky. He's looking really well, actually. Ready to return probably in December. Could be in Saudi Arabia. And then obviously, look, he wants the Amir Khan fight. But first things first, let's get him back in the ring, hopefully in December.
I've heard you say about, the Amir Khan fight, you're going to give it one last shot. Yeah. Have you thought about it? Has there been any talks about that?
Yeah, a few talks. Obviously, everybody wants to know the deal. That's what matters at this stage. So we've got to try and put the numbers together, see if we can make it happen.
And just going back to the KSI Logan Paul fight, I was speaking to Frank Warren yesterday, and he said the reason why you're putting one of the sole reasons you're putting this fight on is because you're not delivering numbers for DAZN. What do you make of that?
If we want to talk about numbers, I mean, he really doesn't know what he's talking about. He's really the Thomas Cook of boxing, as far as I'm concerned. So, if you want to look at numbers, go to Company's House and check out Queensberry Promotions numbers. It's there for all to see.
And one of the last questions, Callum Smith as well, another middleweight that we were talking about earlier. What's going on with him? I've heard a date in November.
November 23rd is what we're focusing on. John Ryder is the mandatory. It's a really good domestic fight. So we're speaking to Anfield about staging a big event there in May or June next year. But first things first, try and get November 23rd in the diary.
And any updates on the undercard for the Joshua Ruiz fight?
Trying to make Liam Smith against Jesse Vargas. Trying to make Povetkin against Hunter. Maybe Scott Quigg against John O'Carroll. Hergovich as well, and one other.
Okay, Eddie, thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Hi fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. And we also have a free app available on iTunes and Google Play, so make sure you go and download that. Bye, fight fans.